here we are, basic economic concepts. Uh, excuse me. Scarcity factors of production and productivity. You got micro versus macro. Microeconomics is the analyzing or study of market behavior of these things. Small firms, these pictures go in order of it. So you got the top right, small business, small firms, individual consumers such as us, industries, Texas City, all that area. Competitive markets, HEB versus Kroger's, households, you know what those are. And labor markets, what's the unemployment like? So we take all this behavior, excuse me, and we try to understand the decision-making processes that go on with all these different things, and especially the decisions between firms like businesses and us, the household or the consumer. So you got macro, which is large. So we study the large economy as a whole, study national economic growth, regional economic growth, such as, the Southwest, Northeast, all that, global economic growth, government spending, how much are we spending as far as government is concerned, inflation. Heck, I remember when taquitos were 75 cents and now they're like 2 something, so that's inflation. Unemployment and global trade. So this is the difference. Macro is an overall huge study of regions and stuff. Micro is the more individualized look at it. So it's economics as a whole. So let's talk about scarcity. First of all, economics, social science concerned with the efficient use of limited resources. It's the study of how individuals and societies deal with scarcity. And this is what scarcity is. It's a condition in which our wants are greater than our limited resources. We're always going to want, but we always can't get what we want because of limited resources. Since we are unable to have everything we desire, we must make these choices because of our scarce resources. So if you look at this drawing right here, unlimited wants and limited resources leads to scarcity, and we have to make choices, and those choices are what to produce, how to produce, and who to produce for. So, we're very satisfied. Few people are satisfied with the things they have. No house, you want a bigger, or you want a house. If you have no house, you want a house. You have a small house, you want a larger house, etc., etc., etc. If we made a list of everything we wanted, it would probably have more on there than the country could produce. And this is exactly why we have scarcity, and why scarcity is the main problem we are all facing in society as far as economics. A need is a basic requirement for survival: food, clothing, shelter, like those 3 pictures. A want is something we desire but not needed for survival. I know some of y'all may need your phone for survival, but you really don't. These are expressed with economic products, these needs and wants, usually. Okay, goods and services that are useful, scarce, and transferable are also what economic products are. Let me go back. So remember, economic products, goods and services that are useful, scarce, and transferable. Basically, goods and services that we need that are very rare, or not rare, but scarce, and we can exchange those goods through monetary or trade. A good is an item that is economically useful. It can satisfy both a need and a want. It's divided into the following categories. These goods are durable goods, such as a house, lasts 3 years or more, tools, robots, etc. Non-durable goods are things like last less than 3 years, and things like food, paper, and clothing. Sorry, I don't want to go too fast. Food, paper, and clothing. Consumer goods. Let's talk about consumer goods. This is intended for the final use by the individual, whatever individual it is. Shoes, shirts, automobile. I know that you can sell those things later on, but just understand that that's what we're thinking, that it is going to be used by that individual. Capital goods, tools, machines, or goods used by businesses to produce other goods and services. So those are tools, machines, or goods used by other businesses, or by businesses to produce other goods and services. A computer used at home for email and personal use is a consumer good. A computer used by an accountant to do people's taxes is a capital good. Service. Another type of economic product is service or work that is performed for someone. That includes hairdressers, home repairers, carpenters, lawyers, or even a teacher. Excuse me. Value, utility, and wealth. Value refers to a worth that can be expressed in dollars and cents. Value isn't calculated by scarcity alone, although it is part of it. So, yeah, it's scarce, the diamond's scarce, but it's not necessarily that value isn't, all of it. For something to have value, it must also have utility. And utility is this: how much use or satisfaction someone gets out of something. Then you have something called utility maximization, which is getting the most usefulness from a scarce resource. Hold on, I'm going backwards. What is the value of a bottle of water? What is the value of a 1-carat diamond? What do you use the water for? Well, you obviously know what you use water for. What is the diamond for? So these things are known as a paradox of value, and that's a situation where some things, you need water, but it has very little monetary value, whereas some non-necessities such as diamonds have a much higher monetary value. However, there's also a paradox in the sense that, let's say you're in a desert for 2 days and somebody has a bottle of water that they're going to sell you for $100. You're going to buy that bottle of water. So that's the paradox, is some things have very little monetary value until you actually need them. Wealth. Wealth is the accumulation of those products that are tangible, scarce, and useful. Goods are counted as wealth. Services are not. Services are intangible, so they're not counted as wealth. Tinstolf. All right, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Remember, resources are scarce. Everything we do has a cost. So even though it says you can get one free lunch, you're going to have to buy something else to get that free lunch. Nothing is free. Nothing in free is an economic term. An economic sense. Let's talk about the questions. We already kind of talked about those earlier. Remember, we have scarce resources. We have to make choices on how to use these resources. These are the 3 questions that we face. What to produce? Are we going to produce guns or butter? So we need to decide what type of guns, then what type of butter once we decide what we're going to produce. Society can't produce everything its people wants. Remember that. How to produce it. Are we going to be automated? Are we going to be less automated? Are we going to have workers, robots? What are we going to have? So think of Japan and Mexico. Japan is extremely automated, and Mexico is very labor intensive. Who to produce for? Goods and services. You got to give goods and services to somebody. So who are we producing for? Are we producing for, average white males? Are we producing for average females? Whatever. You got to figure these things out. Thank you. Bye.